When your club chooses to participate in the Rotary Club Youth Exchange, you are creating the opportunity to make a positive effect on the lives and future of many people around the world. Rotary clubs are responsible for the operational success of the Youth Exchange program. The District Youth Exchange Committee is your club's resource. The district's aim is to help make the job of your club as easy as possible. Website resources will address many of the questions you may have. It is required that your club has a committee which oversees the program. The committee will be responsible for selecting and interviewing student candidates, as well as assuring background checks are conducted for committee members and volunteers, counselors, and host families. Your District Youth Exchange Committee will be able to assist you on doing background checks. The District Youth Exchange Committee has inbound and outbound chairpersons whose jobs are to oversee students coming into the districts, as well as those students traveling out. They also serve on a district selection committee that interviews all prospective outbound students nominated by clubs to participate in the program. It is the host club's responsibility to find appropriate host families, a school, a Rotary counselor, and to find a monthly stipend for each inbound student. In reference to finding an appropriate host family, it is also imperative that the Rotary Club abides by the strict sexual harassment and sexual abuse guidelines set forth. Although it is rarely an issue, sexual harassment and sexual abuse are two topics that need to be addressed. It is important that everyone, including the students, parents, counselors, and host families, reference this section. The facts and procedures discussed in this section could prove to be of great importance. So let's get started by reviewing a couple basic definitions. Sexual abuse. Forcing or encouraging someone, regardless of age or gender, to engage in implicit or explicit sexual acts alone or with another person. Sexual abuse examples are many and varied and range from strong physical offenses to indecent exposure or expecting a student to look at sexual or pornographic material. Sexual harassment. Not as severe as abuse. It refers to sexual advances, requests for favors, or verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. Often a technique used by sexual predators to desensitize or groom their victims for abuse. Examples of sexual harassment range from sexually explicit jokes to physical touching or brushing. It may be less likely to see harassment coming. Here are a few common ways people may be harassed. 1. While at a museum with his exchange student, Mr. Smith spent an unusual amount of time taking Sharita around to see sexually suggestive objects, pictures, and sculptures. 2. When Jose got ready for bed, Mrs. Jones would stop by his room, leering in, and would give a slight sound hinting that he was very sexy. 3. After watching an R-rated movie together, the obscene language or gestures in it are repeated over and over again for no good reason. 4. Sexually suggestive comments that are not appreciated are given out on a regular basis. An individual continually comments and gloats about his or her sexual activity and prowess. So now you know the basic definitions of abuse and harassment, as well as some examples. I think by now we all know what we're dealing with. The next question is, what do we do about it? In most sexual abuse or harassment situations, the first to hear about it is the student's Rotarian counselor. It is their duty to look after the well-being and safety of the student and abide by the following guidelines. Of course, if the allegations involves the conduct of the counselor, the student or host family should contact the host club's program chair or district chair. Your Rotary district should provide you with some written instructions on how to report sexual abuse or harassment. Following are some of the key steps to be taken in the rare event sexual abuse or harassment allegations have been made. Meet with the student and listen attentively. Stay calm and acknowledge that it takes a lot of courage to report abuse or harassment. Be encouraging and do not express shock, horror, or disbelief. Get the facts, but don't interrogate. Avoid asking why questions. Try to establish what was done and who did it. Be non-judgmental. Do not criticize anyone or anything that has happened, and it is especially important not to blame the student. Assure privacy, but not confidentiality. Explain that you have to tell someone about the abuse or harassment for it to stop. and that this will make sure that it doesn't happen again. Reassure the student that he or she did the right thing by telling you. Remind them that your responsibility is to represent their account of the situation to the proper authorities. Whoever is contacted first must ensure the safety and well-being of the student by removing them from the situation immediately. All contact with the alleged abuser or harasser must cease. Give reassurance to the student. This is for his or her safety and is not a punishment. Keep a written record of all conversations you have had with the student. This should include the date and time of the conversation. Use the student's words and record only what has been told to you. Do not contact or challenge the alleged offender. In cases of abuse, interrogation must be left entirely to the law enforcement authorities, who should be contacted as soon as you become aware of the situation. Rotary International must also be informed of any allegations within 72 hours of it being reported to district personnel. Rotary will cooperate with all police or legal investigations. You will likely be requested to provide the following information: the student's name and location, the suspected perpetrator's name and relationship to the child, if known, a description of what you have seen or heard regarding the abuse or neglect, the names of people having knowledge of the abuse, your name and phone number. In cases of harassment, a report must be made to the Rotary Club District Youth Exchange leadership. The District Youth Exchange Chair and District Governor are responsible for having an investigation conducted. This may be done by a District Youth Protection Officer or committee and may vary from district to district. In all cases, the privacy of both the exchange student and alleged adult abuser will be respected during the investigation. Details of abuse must be reported to local law enforcement or state agencies. In conclusion, while it is very rare that abuse or harassment ever takes place on a Rotary Youth Exchange program, it is our responsibility to inform and educate you on the proper procedure for handling this subject, in the case it does occur. For a complete list of these guidelines, check your district or multi-district website, or with your Youth Exchange chair. There is also a printable PDF version available at the end of this DVD.